Find a reason to be here that's bigger than you are.
From the creators of Jesus Revolution.
Something about that little girl. I think I'm supposed to help.
Based on the inspiring true story.
My name is Sharon. I'm good at plenty of things. Taking no for an answer ain't one.
Find your purpose. Make a difference.
You want to go on an adventure?
Yeah.
Ordinary Angels. Starring two-time Academy Award winner Hilary Swank and Alan Ritchson. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. In theaters now.
How many relationships do people have where they love the person, but they don't even like spending time with them because they're just following the attraction and the chemistry? So my dating coach said there's 3 C's of a successful relationship: chemistry, communication, and compatibility. So in order to have a successful relationship, you need to have all 3 C's. This is what sculpts your soul to make you the most beautiful soul that you can ever imagine, is that resistance of having the courage and the grace to walk through painful situations without attaching. And yeah, it's welcome. That's what I'm saying. Welcome the pain. Do not run from it. You will get through it, and you will find on the other side, just like Harrison, you said, you'll be a more enlightened, closer to God, higher vibrating soul on the other side.
Welcome, beautiful souls, to Season 3 of the Cosmic Love Antenna with your host, Harrison Ma. I invite you on a mystical voyage from the intellect to the soul, delving deep into the mysteries of love's spiritual essence and its divine unfolding. This podcast celebrates the peeling back of heart layers, revealing beautiful, profound lessons, interviews with loving spiritual seekers, and practices and tools to open up your heart to love's infinite wisdom. I'm so excited to have you and grateful that our hearts have connected. Enjoy the show. Good morning, evening, afternoon, magical beings. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another deep dive into your heart layers and a spiritual conversation that I know is going to unravel some deeper understandings in a topic today that is very relevant to me in my life. And if it's how I've sort of tuned into this show recently, if it's relevant to me in my life, it's most likely relevant to the people that tune into this show week to week and all of my beautiful community. So today we're going to be talking about all things soulmate manifestation with the beautiful Rebecca Whitman. And before I get to her and her loving heart and everything she has to share today, I just want to remind everyone that's tuning in live, either on the Facebook community or listening on the podcast, if this gives you value today, if it hits your heart, if it expands your awareness in some way, please share this out with a friend, a family member that it can support and guide. As I alluded to a second ago, I have the divine Rebecca Whitman here on the show. Rebecca is a magnetic abundance mentor, mainly helping at the moment women who are burned out leave toxic relationships and magnetize their soulmates at any stage of life. We're going to be discussing exactly do we do this? What is a soulmate? What are the steps? And what does it really mean to magnetize in a very loving and intentional way? Rebecca, welcome to the Cosmic Love Antenna.
It is so great to be here, Harrison. I think you are a soulmate. I feel like I've known you, and yet we've only talked once on Zoom. So I feel like you and I are just so aligned, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you about soulmates.
Well, Rebecca, I couldn't agree more with that beautiful soulmate acknowledgement. And I think let's just go straight into it. Let's start there, because I think that is a beautiful way to set foundation here. You know, when you say that to me, I obviously understand what you mean, because I've had many interactions like this where this little feeling is there. But for people that are new to the soulmate world, maybe you could give your definition to people. 1, what is a soulmate? And 2, how do we start to really distinguish it between maybe something that's not so soulmatey?
Sure. I would like to, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. And to me, there's a difference between a soulmate and a twin flame. Twin flame is 2 souls that come down together and they descend, and one takes the masculine and one takes the feminine. Sometimes they end up together, and it's usually a tumultuous relationship because they're almost too much alike, and it can be beautiful, and it can also be very volatile. I was told by a psychic, your twin flame is not even on the earth anymore. So stop looking for him. He's not even there. You're not going to find him, and just go for a soulmate. And a soulmate is someone that you have connected with in a past life or many past lives, and you connect with them again. And it's like, you just know them. You just pick up where you left off. You don't have to make a lot of small talk. You don't have to, waste a lot of time. You just kind of go right into a deep connected relationship. And you can have soulmate pets. You can have soulmate podcasting friends like you and I are now. You can have soulmate romantic relationships. And when I realized that there was more than one romantic soulmate, that took the pressure off, because Harrison, I had one-itis. I was going to every grocery store, bar, party going, are you the one? 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 And it put so much pressure on the other people and me. And I got over one-itis when I realized there are many, many soulmates that you can have a beautiful, loving, long-term partnership with.
I'm so glad that you're really starting with this teaching. And first of all, I resonate deeply with that definition that you gave around soulmates having a past life sort of connection and history, and maybe lessons learned and lessons still needing to be met. I think that's all beautiful. But I want to go deeper into this one-itis, as you say, because I want to get your thoughts on this. I think for many of us, I'll just speak for myself. One of the reasons I had that one-itis syndrome was due to a lot of religious programming, right? Such as like death do us part, right? I must marry this one person, and that if I don't resonate, if I'm separated from that person, then not only am I missing out on that beautiful relationship, but now I'm sort of condemned and punished for the things, the transgressions that I perpetrated. Have you noticed this with maybe in your own story or with people that you've worked with?
Well, I call myself the magnetic abundance mentor. I think you can have a scarcity or an abundance conversation around everything, especially love and money. So a scarcity conversation around money is there's not enough to go around. I'll always be broke. I don't have any luck when it comes to money. A scarcity conversation of in love is I miss the one. He or she is the one who got away. It's too late. I blew it with my one. And when you have a scarcity conversation around the one, then you are actually repelling true love, because you are looking at the lack of, and you are feeling like, I've got to get this one person. And when you just relax and realize, okay, there are many soulmates. And one of my favorite spiritual teachers is Abraham Hicks. And they say that they don't believe in traditional wedding vows, like you referred to, Harrison, till death do us part. They say it should be more like, I like you pretty good. Let's see how it goes. Because as people evolve on their spiritual journey, sometimes people change and sometimes people transition to the other side of the veil. So yeah, it's just a more of an abundance conversation around love.
And it's one of the characteristics of abundance, and I'm sure you understand this, my friend, is abundance comes with ease, right? It comes with sort of bliss. It comes with expansion, right? And when I feel into what you're describing, those feelings are there, right? And I also think that's probably why there's a big movement at the moment. And I would encourage listeners to look into this idea of conscious uncoupling, right? So when a relationship does come to an end, it doesn't have to be destructive. It doesn't have to be tumultuous. It doesn't have to be, two bad people. It's just two souls, like you're saying, realizing, okay, we've come to the end of this journey together. Now let's open our hearts to more love, right?
Yeah, I actually met the woman who created that. Her name is Catherine Woodward Thomas. She wrote a beautiful book called Calling in the One. And conscious uncoupling. Yeah, I used to think that we had to break up or detach or even divorce in anger and in hate, but we can actually break up with people, whether they're friends, coworkers, romantic partners. You can break up in love. Like, what emotion is that? Like, that is showing how humanity has evolved. And to me, God is love. And I don't think that God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, would want us to be stuck in an unfulfilling relationship that was no longer serving our highest good. So we get to choose ourselves, we get to choose love, and we get to just trust that when I got a divorce, I didn't know if I would ever remarry again, but I was like, I just want to be happy and I just want to choose me. And I want to be around loving, high vibe souls, whether they're friends, pets, coworkers, romantic, great. I was so humbled by feeling the pressure to stay in a relationship that no longer served me that I just went the other way. And I'm like, I'm just going to hang around the high vibe, loving people wherever I find them.
Hold that thought of God is love. We'll come back to that concept, Rebecca, in a bit. But I just want to honor you for your beautiful journey and that step that you took, because we've all had that option to take that step in some form. And I think a lot of us, myself included, due to our pain, we pick the opposite, right? We pick more fear, we pick more separation, we pick more, these conditions that keep moving. But sometimes it's courageous to pick the love, right? Rebecca, I want to dive in now into your beautiful steps, the process of this soulmate manifestation. So we'll see if we'll get to as many as we can within the time that we have. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start with step 1 with soulmate manifestation? I'll let you guide us here.
Sure. I'll go through all the steps and then we'll unpack whichever ones you resonate with. So the first one is process and release your past, because you don't want to keep repeating the same patterns. The second one is radical self-acceptance, which is what I just shared about. You are your own Valentine. You are your own beloved. The next one is masculine and feminine energy. Relationships that are romantic get to have polarity to be sexy and sensual. The next pillar is deciding where to fish. Where are you going to magnetize your soulmate? The next one is first date etiquette, because if you don't do well on the first date, there's not going to be another date. The next one is dating life. I don't believe you should date just one person. I believe in socializing with a lot of people and then deciding who you want to be sexually exclusive with. And then finally, the 7th pillar is called close the deal, how to negotiate an exclusive long-term relationship with sexual, social monogamy. So we can jump into any of the pillars that are exciting to you and just take the conversation wherever you want.
They're all so exciting, Rebecca. I just want to, again, honor you for such a beautiful framework, because it's powerful, right? Let's start with, I'll go with the thing that's most exciting, as you said. Let's go with the dating life aspect. And particularly, particularly I want you to speak to, because I mean, this would help me as an individual. There is a limiting belief that I've held for a long time, that once we step into that dating life, there's almost a fear around seeing too many people or opening your heart to too many people at once, because maybe you're quote unquote doing the wrong thing to the other person that you're seeing before you step into the monogamous step that you talked about later. So maybe you can speak to, okay, so what does this balance look like? How do you approach this?
They say, and this is from my relationship coach, who's now almost 90, her name is Dr. Pat Allen. She said that dating just one person leads to obsession, Dating two people is either or. You're in a love triangle. Like, who do I choose? And if you have three or more people that you're dating, that's called diversification. And she also says, mutate, don't eliminate. So just, just keep socializing. Think of it as just socializing with people, getting to know them. I mean, deciding who to be with long term, whether it's 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, or a lifetime, putting your time, your energy, your intimacy into someone is such a big decision. Yet we'll go out and we'll test drive like 10 cars. And then, like, the first person we get drunk and meet at a bar, we just roll into bed with. And that's like our spouse or our lover for the next 20 years. Like, we don't even know that person. So it would only make sense to really get to know people, get to know their humor, their values, their background. Why did their last relationship end? Ask them what they're looking for in a relationship. That is probably, if you get one takeaway from this interview, ask people, what is your dating purpose? That would save so much heartache. Because what if somebody's dating purpose was casual sex and they're polyamorous, which is fine, no judgment. And your dating purpose is to, find the mother or father of your child and like travel the world with someone and live with someone for the rest of your life. Like, those are two very congruent dating purposes, and it would save you a lot of time and heartache. But people are taught, oh no, if I let on that I'm looking for like my future spouse, I'll spook them and they'll run away. Well, if they run away, that's a great thing because they're not looking
Not
for
for
a
you.
future. Yeah, they're saving you a lot of time and energy. So don't be scared to say what your true dating purpose is.
I think another way, I love the true dating purpose. I think another way of describing it is, your core values, right? Your current core values that you beautifully stand in, right? And that can change all the time. But I think it's a matter of, I think most of us are not even having that conversation with ourselves. Most of us aren't sitting still and asking, what do I actually want? What are my actual values? Because, and maybe you can speak to this, Rebecca. And I do want to come back to this point because I had another question bubble up, but I just want to ask this here in this moment. If we're not asking those values and we're not sitting with those values, we're still attracting, right? We attract from those space of values, whether we are aware of them or not. So maybe you can speak to that idea.
We attract from our values or we don't, because I used to say, someone would say, I'm not looking for anything serious. And then I would lie because I was an approval seeker. Oh, neither am I. Let's just hang out and see what happens. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, my core values are like, oh, well, I'm really looking for a husband, but I'm sure that, once he gets to know me and spends time with me, he'll change his values. But it's like, no, people really show you who they are within the first 15 minutes of meeting them, especially you, Harrison. I mean, you're a psychic, but Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite spiritual teachers, is like, if you're an empath, you pretty much know somebody's core values within the first 15 minutes of meeting them. But yet we stay in relationships and we try to like turn them around
Change them.
And it's just absolutely exhausting. It's so much easier just to be truthful about what you want and ask them what do they want? What are you looking for?
Yeah. This brings me back to what I wanted to ask you a second ago. So within that dating world, as a soul that's opening up to bringing in their soulmate and they're diversifying and looking at all these different partners and bringing them in, is there communication that's needed, right? Because again, I've held this belief, and I'm sure people listening are in the same boat. As you start to bring in the soulmate, and maybe you're dating multiple people, is there a necessity to communicate? So, for example, I'm seeing this person, or I'm spending time with this person on the weekend, and I'm going to see you now. What does that look like?
I mean, I don't believe in dishonesty, but I also don't think you should say things that would hurt someone. So if they say, oh, well, I want to see you Saturday night, and you say I have plans, and they're like, do you have a date? It's like, yes, I do. I'm dating other people. Like, aren't you? We're not exclusive yet. It's like, I think it's assumed, especially with the culture that we have of Tinder and Hinge and Bumble, and you have all those in Australia, right?
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, oh, by the way, I'm dating other people and I hope you are too. But I mean, don't lie either. Like, yeah, I'm not available. I'm going on a date. I mean, if somebody's offended by that, then maybe they are a little bit too sensitive, or you can explain, I really like you. I'm just doing things a little differently this time. Before I would just fall into bed with anybody I was attracted to, and it led to a lot of heartbreak. And now I'm taking my time and I'm really developing a true friendship with someone and getting to know them and their values and seeing if we're compatible. And then when I feel like we are compatible, then I will cut it off with everybody else. So I'm just taking my time and doing this a different way because the other way didn't work for me. And you can explain that to them.
It feels like a beautiful balance between being honest and open and truthful, but not people pleasing, not like stepping over that and just saying the thing because you think they want to hear it, or saying the thing because you think you should be saying it. Right? That's a whole other conversation. I want to go back to one of your other points here, one of the other steps in your beautiful system. And I've done many episodes on this, but I'd love to get your wonderful perspective. This idea of polarity in relationships. And I'll maybe pose this question from this angle. I think there are many misconceptions around the idea of the divine feminine and divine masculine only being, I'm a masculine body, so I only have masculine energy. You're a female body, so you only have female energy. So I'm wondering if you could speak to maybe the illusion of this and why this is important within attracting our soulmate.
Well, again, according to my teacher, women have feminine bodies. They're curvaceous and they're soft, but their soul is actually masculine. You will never meet a soul as tough and resilient as a feminine soul. Male bodies are less body fat, they're stronger, tougher, but their souls are feminine. They're actually way more sensitive on a cellular level than women, and they're very just empathetic, and they're fragile as far as their soul goes. So people don't realize that you can, and whatever you identify with, right? Like either way, your soul can be either way, and so can your body. But usually your soul and what you identify with are not the same thing. And we're actually androgynous, meaning that we both have masculine and feminine qualities. And we just get to decide what we are wanting to lead with in a relationship. So it's actually a decision. So if you want to lead with your feminine, you are choosing to be receptive, available, respectful, and a more of a passive role. If you choose to lead in relationship with your masculine, you are being more, you're chasing, you're pursuing, you're initiating the calling and the texting, planning the dates, being more of the leader in the relationship. It doesn't mean that as a man, you don't like to lay back and, be pampered. And it doesn't mean if you're in the feminine that you're not maybe you're a badass CEO, but as a relationship, to make it a dance, somebody's got to lead it and somebody's got to follow. Otherwise, it's just like the mosh pit or slam dancing or bumper cars, which is not sexy. It's just too much of the same. And if you think of a magnet, that's why I called it polarity. If you have two of the same sides of the magnet together, they repel because it's too much alike. And if opposite sides attract. So if you're sitting on the couch on a Saturday night and you're like, hey, hun, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? That's not sexy.
It's I'm just laughing because it's another game of self-awareness. It's another game of I think of myself in those same situations that you just highlighted. And the reason that has exacerbated and led to more pain is because I wasn't aware of my current needs, right? I wasn't aware of where I was at. And because I was in a relationship, I was then projecting onto the partner, expecting them to fit that need, right? And they were in a total different polarity. So I guess let me ask you, Rebecca, what is the solution here? Is it just a self-awareness game? Is it communication? How do we balance these polarities in a soulmate relationship?
You can ask them. I mean, you can say, I've decided that I want to be in my masculine. I want to like plan dates and I want to like really pursue you and romance you. Is that okay with you? And if a woman is in her feminine, she'll say yes. If she's like, no, I actually want to be the one planning the dates. And I like, calling and texting first. And then it's like, oh, well, we've got a problem because we're fighting here to be in the masculine energy. However, in this era, most men and women are fighting to be in the feminine energy. And Harrison, I call that battle for the skirt, because most people are just waiting for the other person to call, the other person to text. They're playing, cat and mouse, hide and seek, playing coy, and the masculine energy is not pursuing. So one of the reasons why the courtship with my now soulmate husband, Ben, went so smoothly for me is he was one of the first guys that at the end of each date, he would ask me out for the following date and get on my calendar. So I knew, okay, at the end of the day, and I wasn't thinking, does he like me? Did I have spinach in my teeth? Should I have not said that thing about that, off-color joke? Like, I wasn't second guessing myself. He made me feel secure because he was always like booking me for the next date. And I loved it. And if more people who want to be in the masculine would actually be proactive like that, I think dating would go a lot smoother for people.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Polarity talk gets me so excited because it's becoming more serious now. I see a lot of people speaking about it, but it's still, there's so much more attention needed in my opinion. Let's move on to another one here, Rebecca, another step in this process, because these are also transformative and important to me. I want to speak about knowing where to fish. So knowing where to fish is part of a soulmate manifestation. Can you speak to this step?
Sure. So where do you want to manifest your soulmate? Where do you like to hang out? Do you want to do it the old-fashioned way? Like, I met Ben at a backyard party. It was thrown by the owner of my gym. So everybody at the party was into fitness. And I invited everyone at the party to my book launch, which was the following weekend. And the only one who showed up was Ben. And he showed up with a book and he asked me if I could sign it over dinner. And that's how our beautiful relationship began. But I went to the party thrown by the owner of my gym. So at that point, I had already tried 5 dating apps and hired a high-end matchmaker, and I was not enjoying the process. So I was like, I'm actually going to do a dating detox. I wasn't fishing. I was like, I'm taking 90 days off. I'm not going to think about men, talk about men, even like have an intimate conversation. I'm only going to make small talk and just focus on myself, focus on launching my book. And sure enough, as soon as I took the focus off it, that's when I manifested. Yeah. So I would tell you, if you feel like you're fishing in every pond and you're not getting any fish, to take a 90-day dating detox. Don't even think about it, talk about it, worry about it. But where to fish? So find...
Rebecca, can I jump in there super quick?
Yeah, anytime.
Because this is what you're describing here, it's significant in itself. This pause, this break, not only I think is it a symbol of surrender and just letting go of attachment, but I also think it's a reflection on your ability to magnetize, right? I think I've noticed in my dating life, I've fallen under the illusion that the only way to bring someone into my life was going out there and doing the thing. But right. I've also noticed, like, I'll just explain my sort of situation. I live in a very small town in Australia and I don't go out much, and I spend most of my time in my little environment. But because I've been very intentional with my soulmate manifestation, I've had, a couple of recent partners come to me through the ways that I'm currently showing up through the technological world. So, maybe you can speak to this for a moment, Rebecca, this ability for us to, fit out if people are listening and maybe they're in a similar boat to me, they're in a physical igloo or a physical little isolation island. Is that a barrier to bringing in people?
Nothing is a barrier. Nothing. So there's another self-help book that I really like called Love Will Find You. And if you get your vibration right, if you get really clear about what you want, and you're still putting yourself out there, Harrison, it's not like you're going out to the club, but you're online, you're very visible. People find you online. So people, if you're putting out a clear signal through the law of attraction, your soulmate will find you. So I want to talk about, though, where to fish.
Yes, please.
In your area, because there's some people who absolutely love internet dating. I actually know a lot of people who have manifested their spouse on internet dating. I would say probably 10. So it does work, again, if you have the right mindset. I didn't. So don't think you're listening to an ascended master. When I was internet dating, oh my God, I was like, this sucks. These guys are boring. They're gross. Nobody looks like their profile. I mean, this is just such a waste of my time. This feels like a job. I had every scarcity, limited belief about internet dating that you could. And guess what happened? It's not a shocker. I didn't meet anyone on the internet ever. I probably had dates, huh?
You created your reality. You created the reality in which you were thinking about.
Yeah. And you can't paint a happy affirmation on a limiting belief. I could say, I am manifesting my soulmate. I am passionately in love with my soulmate. But my limiting belief is, oh my God, internet dating, it's for losers, right? So I ended up manifesting my guy in person. But my friends who manifested on the internet had beautiful, wonderful internet dates, and they're in loving marriages. So it's really how you go into it. So if you're into the internet thing, find a dating community that resonates with you. There's like spiritual singles, Christian singles. There's so many different, types of internet dating. So find a site that resonates with you and your personality type. But then there's the old fashioned way. And do you want to know what the international mating call is? It's really easy. It's called a smile. So especially if you're in your feminine, if you want to manifest a masculine energy to come talk to you, hold their eye contact and smile for 5 seconds. It feels like an eternity, but it's actually showing the masculine energy that you're approachable and you're available. The other thing is for women who are wanting to manifest masculine, don't go out with a gaggle of girls and think you're going to meet a guy, because it's very intimidating for one guy to approach like 3 to 5 to 10 women. It's like very intimidating for a guy. So I would do something that I would call doing laps, where I would separate from the gaggle of girls. And I would like walk around the bar of the club, just making eye contact, everyone smiling. And I would like do my laps away from the pack, so I would be more approachable. So there's the 5-second smile. Do not be with a group. And then the other thing is, let the masculine energy catch you. Park it somewhere for a couple hours. Local coffee shop, a hotel, a bar at a restaurant. Even if you're super busy, do a half an hour, 45 minutes, just park it somewhere and smile at everyone. Just give good, loving, positive energy. Don't just smile at someone you think is hot. Smile at children, smile at dogs, smile at the barista. Just give loving energy, and you'll be a bright light in somebody's day, because people are not giving loving energy, and you'll be putting yourself in the path of your soulmate by doing that.
And that will never be a waste of time. Right. Let's speak about that for a second, because, as you were saying all of that, like, especially with the parking, I loved all the practical tips, but the parking it in a place, my old limiting beliefs come up of, but what if nothing happens? What if it takes hours and hours? And I just want to say to those beliefs and anyone else that has them, one, there's no time limit. And two, right, that time where you're opening your heart and spreading love, like you're saying, it'll never be a waste. You're never wasting your time being in a space of love for other people.
Right. And that's the intention. It's like, you're not going there with one-itis, like, oh, I'm going to go to this coffee shop today and meet the one. That is setting yourself up for, being defeated. Like, oh my God, I went to the coffee shop for 45 minutes. I spent $10 on 2 lattes and I didn't even meet the one, right? That's very defeatist. Instead, like, I'm going to go to the coffee shop. I'm just going to like shine my light on everyone. I'm going to give love. And that's my intention. And anything that happens beyond that is just gravy.
Yeah. So many little tangents we can go off here, Rebecca. I really honor you and your beautiful work in this world. Thank you for standing so strong in this. I want to go deep now into one of the first point in this process. And I want to build it up and set a foundation around it before I hear from you. I recently dived into the world of existential kink. And there's a book by this. You've heard of it?
I've never heard of it. It sounds wild.
Yeah, I'll explain it a little bit for you. So it's from the work of Carolyn Elliott, PhD, and she has it's a process called existential kink, and there's a book, and I'd highly recommend people listening to tune into it. And the idea of kink in general is lovingly allowing your past pain, your past wounds, your past shadows to be in a safe container where they can feel pleasure, where they can be loved, where they can be held, right? And existential kink is just taking it out of the bedroom, out of the sexual act, and applying it to all shadow work, applying it to all of our past wounds, our past inner child abandonment, our past ancestral wounds, etc. So with all of that, I want to ask you, Rebecca, what is the importance of this? What is the importance of not just releasing past pain, but learning to love it so we can let it go and move on and manifest a soulmate?
Well, forgiveness is so important if you're wanting to manifest love or money, because when you are holding on to a grudge or a resentment, you are like literally blocking yourself off energetically, and you are not open-hearted or open-minded to new loving energy coming in because you're holding on to past pain. So you're creating an energetic block. So in order to attract your soulmate or more money or more health or more friends, you want to release that old resentment, that old grudge, that old fear. And one of the first things I do when I take on a new client is we inventory their past relationships so we can kind of see their patterns. And a lot of them do come from childhood wounds, and they keep going on and on and on and having the same dynamic in each relationship. And in order to let it go, first of all, we have to know what it is. So the first step is awareness. The second step is acceptance, to love and accept. Okay. No judgment. This has been my pattern in relationship. It comes from childhood trauma. Absolutely no judgment. And then the third thing is to take a different path, take a different action, choose a different type of person. The person that I'm married to now is actually a nice, sweet person. And in my old pattern, I would have been like, oh no, he's boring. He's easy. Relationships are hard. They're high drama, high passion, fighting and breaking up and making up. And I had to let that go.
Oh, there's a lot in here. I think one of the reasons we don't let it go, because your beautiful second step of acceptance.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we don't accept the wound or don't accept the pain to release it is because we're scared of feeling the pain again. We're scared of sitting in it. We're scared of being in it for too long because we're concerned that the pain will overwhelm us. So I'm wondering, in your experience, how do we overcome that when it comes up?
Most people, Harrison, spend their whole life running from pain.
Yeah.
They're drinking, they're doing drugs, they're having compulsive sex, gambling, shopping. They're running from pain. But what I learned is our soul is the sky. Our soul is untouched, unharmed, beautiful, constant, and emotions are the weather. And just because there's a thunderstorm or a snowstorm or a hailstorm, the sky is still the sky. It's neutral. That storm is going to pass, and then it's going to go back to being the sky, a sunny day, a starlit night. So I would tell people, don't be scared of pain. Let it pass through you. Think of it as an emotional flu that has to run its course. And once it runs its course, there will be sunny days again. I had a client who was depressed for 28 years when her mom and sister died. And she's like, I am depressed. And I'm like, no, you're not depressed. You had depression. Be careful that you don't identify. You are not your emotions. Yeah. Let them pass through you. They're not going to destroy you.
Yeah. And let's take a deeper layer here, Rebecca, because I know that you can go there with me. Not only will they not destroy you, not only will there be another sunny day, but I would actually assert that it is through the pain / suffering that we awaken to more of ourselves. Right. As an example, I look back to all of the pain that I've been able to move through, whether it was quick or prolonged. And each of those painful moments have allowed me to be more conscious, have allowed me to wake up out of unconscious patterns. So it's almost the pain itself is a path to awakening.
It is. I mean, think of the gym, right? If you didn't feel the pain of a tired muscle when you were lifting the weights, your muscles wouldn't change. But we understand that with resistance and weight training and at the gym, but we're so scared of emotional or spiritual pain. This is what sculpts your soul to make you the most beautiful soul that you can ever imagine is that resistance of having the courage and the grace to walk through painful situations without attaching. And yeah, it's welcome. That's what I'm saying. Welcome the pain. Do not run from it. You will get through it and you will find on the other side, just like Harrison, you said, you'll be a more enlightened, closer to God, higher vibrating soul on the other side.
And in relation to this topic today, you'll attract more of your soulmates, right? You'll be in the state where you bring in, right? You become that which you want to see, right? You be what you want to see. You be the soulmate that you're looking to magnetize.
Yeah.
A couple more questions here, Rebecca, before I finish off and let you go on with your beautiful day. I want to speak about one more little step here in your process, and it is the closing the deal, which is the last step in your process. So can you, with your beautiful smile, speak to that?
This was a step that really changed my dating life because, like I said prior in the interview, I used to think that if I said that I really wanted a monogamous, committed relationship, that the other person would run away, that I would spook them. So I didn't. I would be intimate with the person and assume that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. And then when they were not my boyfriend, I would be just devastated, heartbroken, take it personally. If I was, younger, prettier, smarter, more famous, richer, whatever, then I could have gotten that person to want to be committed. But it has nothing to do with that. Some people want to be committed and some people don't. And that's okay. So before you have sex, when the clothes are on and when you're sitting vertically, not horizontally, say, I'm really excited to be intimate with you. I'm super attracted to you. Make sure you compliment them and let them know you're totally into them. However, my body is my temple and I don't just give it away to anyone. And before we move forward, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that if we are intimate in this way, that we are monogamous sexually, meaning we're not sleeping with anyone else, socially, meaning we're not having coffee or lunch dates or intimate online conversations with anybody else. And I also added that I wanted them to get an STD test. So if they, were willing to commit to those three things, then we could go ahead and have sex. And some people were not. And I was like, it hurt. And I was like, oh my God, but don't let the door hit you on the way out, because it saved me a lot of time and heartache. But a lot of people don't want to make that commitment before they have sex.
Let me play devil's advocate here, because I have a feeling I know why a lot of people don't want to make that commitment, because there is a limiting belief that I used to hold that it's almost like, and I don't want to say this in a non-derogatory way, but I'm not sure how to do that, so I'm just going to say it. It's almost like I need to try it before I buy it, right?
Right.
It's this idea of I need to have sex with this person before I allow myself to be in a whatever the committed dynamic that you choose it and you want it to be. So how would you overcome that thought, that belief?
I have heard that, and we're not asking for like a legal marriage license here, although that was the way for many, many centuries. We're just saying, before I am intimate with you, I want to make sure you're not doing this with anybody else. Obviously, if it's terrible sex, they can, get out of it. But I think, because I'm not saying not to have any kind of like foreplay or kissing, or you can tell when there's chemistry with someone. You like the way they smell, you like the way you feel around them, you get butterflies, you get excited when you get a text from them. So if there's chemistry with someone, you know how it feels to like kiss them, and just taking it to that ultimate level. Nothing is the same after sexual relations. Like, that's kind of where the purity and the friendship ends, and the dynamic shifts. So it's really important to get to know someone, to have a solid foundation, to actually be friends with them, to actually like the person that you're going to have sex with. I mean, how many relationships do people have where they love the person, but they don't even like spending time with them, because they're just following the attraction and the chemistry? So my dating coach said there's 3 C's of a successful relationship: chemistry, communication, and compatibility. So in order to have a successful relationship, you need to have all 3 C's.
I love it, Rebecca. Such practicality in your beautiful tool set. I love it. Just to hit on that point of chemistry, that's sort of, and I want to speak to all the beautiful, sensitive light workers that tune into this show. As you awaken more to your own intuition, to your own sensitivities, that reflects into the external world. So in this example, as you're saying, based off how conscious you are, how awakened you are, your own intuition will tell you, yes, I haven't had physical connection with this person, but I have a pretty good energetic idea, right? Rebecca, I have one more question for you before we wrap up here, but I want to give you a bit of space here now. If people have really tuned into your beautiful heart and all this work that you're doing in the world, I know you have a beautiful podcast. I know that you mentor and coach people. If anyone wants to find out more or go deeper with you, where can they go? What can they do?
Yes. Well, you can find me on Instagram, Clubhouse, Threads at Rebecca E. Whitman. My website is Rebecca Elizabeth with a Z, Whitman.com. I would also love to offer any of your listeners. I have 3 spots open in September. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but 3 spots open in my calendar for the next 30 days. I open them up for people on podcasts that want to get a free coaching session. So if you're feeling like stuck in a relationship that is no longer serving you, or you want to explore more who your soulmate could be, where to find them, you can go to my Linktree link that Harrison is going to share, and you can book one of those 3 open spots for a complimentary coaching session, and I will help you, find your next step, help you get unstuck to find your soulmate.
And I'll just promote you even more here, Rebecca, give you even more love. I've noticed as a fellow coach and fellow mentor, for all the people listening, just going to one of those sessions and being in the frequency and the energy of someone like Rebecca might be the thing that you need, right? I'm sure there might be more steps that you might need to step into, but just being in the space of someone that has taken a few more steps than you have might be the thing that you're looking for. So I'll put it all in the links, as Rebecca said. If you're listening on the podcast, click the show notes and you'll see Rebecca's details. Rebecca, I promised you something at the start of the chat, and we're going to come back to it here now. This is the Cosmic Love Antenna. And one of the reasonings behind that and a lot of the work that I do is, in my journey, I came back to the remembering that my high power, the deepest state of what I am, is one of love, is a consciousness of love. So I'm wondering, Rebecca, in your world, how do you define or relate to that love word personally?
Yeah, love is an action word. It is it's also a way of being. So when I am confused and I lack clarity, I simply ask myself, what would love do? How would love react? What would love say? And that has given me so much flow in my life. I used to be a reactionary person, and I was coming from ego. Like, I had the saying that I would never, ever be mean, but if somebody said something to me, I would say something back. I would snap back, as they say. Thanks to thinking of love as a way of life, I have a pause button. And if somebody says something that is triggering, I just pause and I ask myself, what would love do? And sometimes love would just walk away. And sometimes love would say something kind back if it was authentic. And as I said earlier in our chat, God is love. So anything that is godlike to me is love. You're smiling so big. God is not like a male energy on a throne, like a Zeus with a staff. It is simply love, kindness, mercy, grace.
I'm smiling so largely, Rebecca, not just because you're a beautiful person, but if you needed any more evidence that we're soulmates, when I work with people, and all the listeners of the show will know what I'm about to say here, but you don't know this. When I work with people, either mentoring, coaching, or, if it's on this podcast, one of the first tools I give them is an affirmation. And can you guess what that affirmation is? What would love do? What would love do?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, there you
Yeah.
go. We are totally aligned. The law of attraction has brought us together to collaborate. And oh, what a beautiful collaboration it's been.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Rebecca. I love you very much. Thank you for all the light and all the love that you bring this world. I would highly encourage anyone tuning in, please tap into Rebecca's light and all that she is sharing with the world. Just before we finish, Rebecca, what's the name of your podcast for people that want to tune into your show?
Yes. My podcast is called The Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show. And I know that a lot of people are on your side of the world, but I also have a free women's circle for coaching, accountability, and support. It's Tuesdays at 12 Pacific Standard Time, and it's just an hour of sharing community. So if you are a woman and you really want some community and some love and some free coaching from me, feel free to stop by. And all of that will be in the link tree, including my podcast and a book that I wrote and everything else that Harrison will share. And Harrison, it has been such a delight to be on your show. This is an incredible podcast.
Thank you, Rebecca. That means a lot coming from your big heart. All right, wonderful beings. Thank you for tuning in today. If you showed up live, if you're listening to the podcast, I hope it hit your heart. If it did, please share it with someone that you think it can impact and support. But until next time here on the show, We send you love, we send you light, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Love Antenna with me, your host, Harrison. If you gained value or this episode hit your heart, please remember to share this out with a friend, a family member, or a lover. You can also leave your love over on Apple reviews and Spotify star feedback, and this helps me spread my frequency to more souls in need. Finally, if you want to connect with me deeper, want to reach out, interested in coaching, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Harrison Meagher, Meagher spelled Meagher. Sending you so much love.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast.
Are you a fan of classic cinema or a young person who wants to discover the best films of all time? Do these legendary movies still hold up?
On the Generation Film podcast, two guys who grew up when movies dominated the culture share a great film with a panel of young movie lovers and see how it plays for today's generation.
We discuss changes in storytelling styles, representation,
The making of each film, its initial reception, and how its meaning has changed over the years.
Join us as we explore cinema classics across generations on Generation Film.
Electricast. Electricast.